Okay, I guess now I'm live. I can see the preview as well. So how about now? Do we see each other? I mean, do you see me? I can't see you. Still nothing. Well, the preview works, so I guess we just have to wait a few seconds because YouTube needs to process the video and audio that I'm sending. So hopefully, okay, now you see me. Now I have no idea what you are hearing at this moment because as I mentioned before, YouTube takes some time to process the video and audio that I'm sending. So there is a delay, probably around 10 to 15 seconds. And if you have any questions, just type them in the chat. I will see those messages right away. I will check out the chat every now and then. And when I answer to the question, it will take some time for you to see and hear what I said. So please be patient. I will be answering every question, so don't worry about that. If this intro becomes too long in this raw version of the video, I will make an edited version of it. I will cut off the beginning and create another video the same as one, just without these boring parts where we talk about technical difficulties and stuff like that. So let's begin. First, I wanted to answer one question that I had from one of my subscribers. His name is David Hansen. He says, thanks yet again, Ivan, useful, informative and clear. May I ask one question? I already have PhotoLemur as a standalone. What do I need to do to get access to it directly from Photoshop? So David tried, we kind of exchanged a couple of messages here, and he couldn't make it work, so I just want to use a couple of seconds to show how to add PhotoLemur to Photoshop as a plugin. For you who don't know, PhotoLemur is a tool that automatically adjusts your images, adds perfect contrast, color, saturation, and all that. So PhotoLemur has an update. I'm just gonna ignore that for now. David, to make PhotoLemur 3 plugin for Photoshop, you have to click here and go to Install Plugins, and then click this Install button. Then PhotoLemur will inform you that you need an administrator permission to do this, and then you have to click OK and then confirm yes. PhotoLemur will start again by itself. I'm going to ignore the update again. Click the menu again, Install Plugins, and then click Install. Now you will have PhotoLemur as a plugin in Photoshop, and it's gonna be located here. Let me just click done. If I open Photoshop, and let's say open this image, just a second, PhotoLemur will be here under Filter, Skylum Software, PhotoLemur 3. Same thing for Luminar, same thing for Aurora HDR. This is all Skylum software. Okay, that's about it. David, if you have any questions, you can write to me and I can maybe go with you one-on-one and show you how to do it. So anyway, this is Luminar 2018. This is the software that I was talking in the previous session, and I had quite a few emails from you guys asking me if I can do one image just in Luminar 2018. This is for people who don't want to pay for Photoshop and Lightroom, right? Luminar is much cheaper, but it's a great piece of software. It costs $69 and it's one-time payment. So when you pay, it's yours. You don't pay for any monthly subscription. However, if you use the link that I provided in this video, you will have $10 off, so $59. And if you add my coupon code on on top of that, which is Dreamframer, it will cost you only $49. So I think really like $49 for this kind of software is a joke. So let me just open one image and edit one image in Luminar so you can see how it's done. Okay, I chose this image because it's pretty dull, it's boring, like contrast is bad, the sky is blown out, as you can see, there are no details there. It's kind of hazy a little bit, but everything looks grayish and bluish, and it was afternoon, it wasn't a beautiful day anyway. So when you open an image like this, when you open your image in Luminar, you will have some presets on the bottom. You can also click this button and you will have more presets under each of these categories. You can just click any of these presets and you might be happy with the result, right? But of course you can edit every preset, or you can start from zero and create your own. The thing about the presets, or the way you edit images in Luminar, is by adding filters, very similar to Photoshop and Lightroom. Luminar is something between these two, so it has layers like Photoshop, but also it has adjustments like Lightroom, so it's really good. Let me just answer this question. I believe I should upload my photos only on Shutterstock. You can do that. You can do that. Shutterstock is a good agency. They sell a lot. However, I always like to have my images at least on 3 or 4 agencies, because you never know what might happen. For example, a big competitor of Shutterstock was always iStock Photo, which is Canadian agency, and there a lot of people were actually working exclusively with iStock Photo. They would upload images only there, and because they were exclusive for iStock Photo, they would earn a bit more than us, who were uploading images to few other agencies as well. However, at one moment, Getty Images came and bought iStock. So the rules changed, the commission changed, some people were not happy anymore, and they were kind of frustrated because all of their images were only with iStock Photo, and then they started moving to other agencies. So yes, you can do it, but I still think it's better to upload your images at least, let's say, to Shutterstock, iStock Photo, and stockadobe.com. These 3 are the biggest. Okay, let's go back to the image. So this is a landscape from Serbia, close to my hometown. There is a little village over here, and the sun sets behind this mountain. So I'm gonna click Add Filter. This now, you see layers, it says layers here. This means that we work in this one layer. You can add new layers, adjustment layers. You can add masks, just like in Photoshop. Because this image is the raw image, Nikon raw image, Luminar has a special filter for raw images. It's called Raw Develop. This is very similar to Lightroom. If you load a JPEG image and not a raw image, this filter will be called only Develop. It wouldn't be called Raw Develop. When you click on that, the filter is added over here, right? And then you can do adjustments. When you take a look at this panel, it looks very much like Lightroom. You have temperature, tint, exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows. Let me just hide myself. I forgot to do that. You don't have to see me. So you have highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, clarity, and so on. In this tab, you have lens correction. Let's say correct lens, correct chromatic aberration, and then you have some transformation tab here. But anyway, let's go back to the basic tab that's very similar to Lightroom. What I always do is exactly the same like in Lightroom. First of all, in this histogram here that shows you how many dark tones and how many mid tones and light tones you have in the image. So dark tones are on the left. We have a lot of them. We don't have that many mid tones, and we have some spike here, which is this blown out area. You have to click this triangle and this little triangle here. You will exactly see what's blown out and if you have any details in the shadow, they're not visible, they will be marked blue on the image. So I obviously have to fix this first. So I will grab the highlights slider and pull it to the left. We still have some blown out area, but that's fine because the sun is behind this cloud or somewhere close to it. So it's okay to have some blown out area. That's sometimes you can't avoid it when you have the light source in the image. So we pulled the highlights down to uncover details in this part of the sky. And then let's lighten up the shadows a little bit. I will push the slider for the shadows to the right. This button here with an eye, this icon, will show you before and after. If I click it, that's before, and this is after. You see how many details we uncovered in the sky already. Now, the white slider, I usually push to the right to make a higher contrast, but in this case, because we're gonna bring too much of the blown out area back, I'm just gonna leave it how it was. Let's say 0. And the black slider, I'll push it a little bit to the left, but not too much, because if I do it too much, the image is gonna be too dark, right? So something like this. This is all a matter of taste. There is no wrong way. Whatever kind of effect you want to achieve, whatever you want to do with the image really depends on your personal idea, how the image should look like in the end, right? And then we have this clarity slider, which is the same as clarity slider in Lightroom. If you push it to the right, you will have higher contrast, but you will also increase the amount of noise and also desaturate the image a little bit. So the colors will be more kind of grayish, higher contrast, but grayish tones. So I don't like to play with this slider too much. And I will just double click the name of the slider to put it back to 0. So any of these filters in Luminar, if you click twice, you will bring them back to 0. So this is that first filter that we added. Raw, where is it? Raw develop filter. So that is the first, and that is the most important filter. If you add any other filters on top of it, this filter will always be the first one on top of this panel. You can play with other filters and move them up and down, but this one will always stay on top. If you want to delete any of the filters from the image, you just have to click this little X button. Okay, now we're not going to do it. Now the image needs some saturation or vibrance. I always like to add vibrance more than saturation, because vibrance adds color to muted colors in the image, and if you have any bright colors in the image, they will stay intact, unlike saturation. Saturation boosts colors in every part of the image. So let's add some vibrance. Not too much though. So let's see how it is without this filter. I'm gonna click this eyeball icon here. So that's the original one. Well, not really the original one. The original one is this. But if I turn it on, you see that we boosted some blue and orange here, these fields, right? I'm gonna turn off these little triangles so we don't see the red parts over here that are blown out. And now let's see what else we can do with this image. It's still kind of on a bluish side, so let's add some warmth to it. We can try using filters like brilliance and warmth, or we can use golden hour. With all these filters, some of them are really powerful, so you have to be careful not to add too much, right? And this is saturation. Play with these filters, they have a lot of power. Brilliance, warmth. Let's see that one. Vividness. Oh, that's too much. You see, I just pushed it a little bit to the right and it already looks unnatural. The warmth. Okay, this looks better. There you go. Now, to add some clarity to the image, to add some more details, we can use few filters. You have details enhancer filter, then you have a group of HDR filters. They're somewhere down here. Let me just find them. There is a good filter that's called microstructure. Let me see where it is. The haze, details enhancer. Let me see. This is a new version of Luminar. I'm still not very familiar with it. Advanced contrast is great. Color contrast is awesome. I have to show you how that works. Okay, so let me try with color contrast first. There is microstructure here. Let's add some structure to the image. Now look at the mountain here. Do you see that? So that's what this filter does. It's adding the structure to the elements that don't really have much details. Whenever you're adding any filter that increases the HDR effect or the contrast or kind of increases the strength of the texture, you always have to be careful with the noise, because you know that when you are uploading images for sale, reviewers look for noise, right? So let me check the noise here on this mountain, because we added this microstructure filter. I'm gonna click Ctrl+ to zoom. Actually, there is not much noise, not at all, but the image is kind of soft. So let's add some sharpness to it. Sharpness should be in the group of issue fixers. Sharpening, there you go. Adding some, oh, that's already perfect, right? Now we might add some, actually no, that's not noise, these are trees. This looks great. There is some noise in the sky, not too much though. So this is before and this is after. Look at the amount of contrast and color and sharpness that we added. I'm gonna zoom out now. There you go. So we added microstructure, we added sharpening. Let me show you how color contrast works. That one is really awesome. Where is it now? Okay, color contrast. Look at the image now. You see that? So what this filter does is it's increasing the contrast between certain colors. The color, like let's say the colors that you are choosing, the slider for the colors is here, hue. Look at the image. If I choose blue shades, then I will increase the contrast in the blue parts of the image. Of course, this is not good, right? But if I choose green, then I will increase the contrast in the green parts of the image. If I choose red, I will increase the contrast in the red part, like orange, red, and yellow, right? You also don't want to add too much of it because the image will look unnatural. And finally, there is one filter that I want to show you that is like a signature of Luminar. It's called Accent AI filter. It's based on artificial intelligence. This filter recognizes what's in the image and tries to improve the look of the image based on what's the subject of the image. But first, let's fix this sky because this is too much. It's really blown out now. So let's go back to our raw develop filter and maybe decrease the exposure a little bit, like this, and whites like this, we can now actually increase the exposure a little bit. Not too much though. There you go, highlights. Now we're gonna push them to the left. Okay. You can also mask the sky and protect it from being blown out. But I don't want to spend too much time in this tutorial with this single image. So if I add that accent AI filter, that filter has only one slider. You can only boost it or push it back. See the difference? So this is the image before and this is after. That's a pretty dramatic difference, right? Now since we have sun here, we can also play a little bit and add sun rays. I'm gonna click sun rays filter, click this button to place the sun center, grab it, and let's say put it here. Now we can turn this off and play with sliders in this filter to increase or decrease the amount of rays, and the look of the whole image to brighten up or darken it more, the number of rays, the length, the warmth, and so on. So let's say this is our final image. This is the image before. So from a simple image like this, like a kind of a boring landscape, hazy, without contrast, without colors, in Luminar you can make something like this. Of course you can make a lot of different kind of looks, and they have a lot of presets, and especially in the newest version of Luminar, these presets, a bunch of presets, comes for free. So I think for $49 to do something like this to the image, that's really basically, that's a bargain. I mean, Photoshop is great. I use Photoshop all the time. I use both Luminar and Photoshop, but for Photoshop I pay $10 a month. And this is one-time payment. I just wanted to show you quickly another image that's going to be much easier to edit in Luminar. So this image I took from a little plane from a recent, well, it was kind of an event. So in this image we have the horizon that is skewed, right? So let's fix that first. I'm going to click Tools and Crop. So you see how cursor changes depending on where it is. So this is not just crop, this is also rotate. There you go. And now I'm going to click Done. Now we have the image that is cropped. And now we're going to add again the first filter, raw develop filter. Now we're going to decrease the highlights, not too much though. Increase the shadows. Oh yes, we have to turn on these triangles to see what we're doing. Whites, and push back some black. There you go. Let's see what's gonna happen if I add right away this accent AI filter. It adds a little bit of, but look at that, that's such a difference. However, I'm sure we added some noise, I can see that. Always zoom the image to 100%. When it says 100% here, you know that that's gonna be the zoom that reviewers use to review your images. So yes, we added some noise to the sky, so let's fix that. Denoise. You have to be careful with this filter because it's very powerful. You don't have to push it a lot. That's it. 20% is plenty. Now if you want, you can add some sharpening. There you go. I wouldn't add more than that. And with just few clicks, few filters, if you ask me, this image is ready for sale. You can add some vibrance if you want to. Let's try that to make it more greenish, because this green is kind of muted a little bit. But that's it. This is California coast before and after. And it almost hurts when you look at the before, right? It's so hazy, so it's like a dirty lens, but it wasn't. It's just the air, the haze from the ocean. Look at this. So let me go back to my view as well. Do you have any questions, guys? I can show you how to edit these two images in Photoshop as well. So this was only Luminar. Let me see if I can. Dreamframer, webinars. So this is the same image that we loaded in Luminar. Now it's loaded in, well, I open it in Photoshop, and Photoshop is opening it in Camera Raw, which is a part of the package, and it's very similar to Lightroom. And also you see this panel, it's similar to Luminar, right? So let's see what Camera Raw can do with this image. These triangles are already turned on, sorry. So I'm gonna push highlights back just like in Luminar. Shadows, I think they're okay. Whites, I'm not gonna touch that. And black, push to the left. You see, when I push blacks to the left, these parts become blue. That tells me that I lost all the details in the shadows, so I have to fix that by pushing the slider for blacks to the right. Then we have vibrance here, just like before. Add some vibrance and add some clarity. Not too much though, because that's also what's adding the noise, right? So this is the same image edited in Camera Raw. I will add some warmth to it, like this. If you have like little blue spots while you are editing the image in Camera Raw or Lightroom, that's fine. That's better than having red spots here, which now we can't avoid because of the sun. But little small parts without the detail in the shadow, nobody's gonna notice that. Reviewers will probably not notice it either. So let's check for the noise. I'm gonna zoom again. Look for the number 100% here. Oops, sorry. So there is not a lot of noise. Lightroom and Camera automatically add some sharpness to it. That's why the picture looks sharper right away. Otherwise, this is when it's not sharpened, right? But what Camera Raw and Lightroom cannot really do that easily like Luminar is improve your sky, because Luminar has a filter called Sky Enhancer. You just click it and you push the slider to the right and the sky suddenly becomes perfect. But in Camera Raw, Photoshop and Lightroom you cannot do that easily. You have to open the image, import it in Photoshop, then I will create a new layer like this, and then I can play with the sky. Maybe I can add a gradient filter and see how that works. Let's try that. So we're gonna add a new layer on top of this layer, and that's gonna be gradient. So obviously I've already done some sky before, since this looks like me trying to fix the sky. I have to change the angle of this gradient to minus 90 degrees like that, and then I will have to do also this. So now we're completely changing the look of the sky, right? The sky is becoming blue, and it wasn't blue before. To change the color, I have to click this and then click the color, and then maybe do something else, something like this, sorry. Also this slider as well. Something like this. And then of course you can always decrease the opacity for that layer. Or completely replace the sky. If you cut it out, replace it with something else. We're gonna do that in the next webinar. So in the next webinar we're gonna be playing more with removing objects, replacing objects in the image. Sometimes you have a great image where the sky is completely blown out and you think that you cannot submit it, but actually you can if you replace the sky. And I have a couple of images like that that are selling really well. I took a landscape, I took a cityscape of San Jose, California, and I took it with my cell phone. I took 2 images, I stitched them to a panorama, but the sky was completely blown out. So I replaced it with the sky from, I believe it was from Mexico, but the image looks really great. So we're gonna do that in the next webinar, probably next week. So now let me know if you have any questions, guys. So any questions, doesn't matter if it's related to image editing or it's related to stock photography or to specific websites that are selling photos, the review process, the rejection reason. Just type your question in the chat and I'll be here, and I'll be answering your questions. People ask me questions all the time, and most of the times the questions are the same. One of the questions that people ask me all the time is, can I upload the same photo to more than one agency? The answer is most likely yes, depending on the contract that you sign with the agency where you are originally selling photos. I made a video about that, so go to my playlist, How to Sell Photos Online, and find that video. It explains everything in detail. Another question that I often hear is, can I sell photos of can I sell other people's photos that I download from Instagram or Google because these photos are public domain or something like that? No, these photos are not public domain. Most of the photos that you download from Google and basically all the photos from Instagram are copyrighted photos, even though you don't have to sign any specific document for your photos to be copyrighted. The moment you create a photo, the photo is copyrighted, and the copyright is yours. So the person who posts photos on Instagram owns the copyright of the photo. You cannot just go to Instagram, download photos from other people and sell them. I mean, you can try until they catch you, and then when they catch you, you're banned forever. So don't do that. I'll wait a couple of minutes for your questions. And if you don't have any questions, this is gonna be it for today. And in the next live video, we're gonna be doing things like replacing the sky, removing objects from the image, placing them somewhere else, blending them to look nice. So let me just show you something very quickly. If you go to my website and then you go to before and after, there you can see some examples of objects being removed and added. For example, this swan here, so this is Lake Tahoe in California, and this swan was not there. That's a different lake, but I added it to the photo. Then again, this is the original image, and this is the edited image of a girl on the beach. And then this is the isolated praying mantis on the rose, where basically the background is removed. Here I added some sun. You see how the sky is completely blown out? That's what I'm talking about. And here we have clouds and the sun and everything. This is one of the more extreme examples made out of few photos. That's my son playing with a little model plane. That's the final photo. I took this from the plane, then I erased the wing, then I added this, which is the second photo. This is the third photo, and this is the fourth photo, and then the sun was added in Photoshop. Similar thing here. This is the original photo, then I replaced the background, the sky, then I added some flower petals. This is Lake Tahoe panorama. I'm gonna show you how to create panoramas in the next video as well. Oh, this is me. So anyway, in the next video we're gonna be doing, I'm gonna show you how to create panorama in Photoshop. I'm gonna show you how to remove objects and blend them, or remove them or move them somewhere else and blend them to look natural. And we're gonna replace one sky. Hopefully we can do all that in 1 hour, because you can do it fast, but if I want to explain you how to do it, then I need some time, right? Thank you so much for these helpful videos from Algeria. Hi to Algeria. How are you guys? Evgeny Korev. Hi Evgeny, no problem. Just, you know, find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, send me a message. Over there I have a Facebook page where I post when I'm gonna have a next live session. It's probably gonna be next week, next Sunday actually. I'm not gonna promise, but you will know tomorrow or the next day, so Monday or Tuesday for sure. If you go to Facebook, find me, Dreamframer, the page Dreamframer. I also have a group that I recently started. It's called Stock Photography Helping Community. You can join there and we can share tips and experience and ask questions. Also on Instagram sometimes I post a short video where I announce when I'm gonna have a live session, so don't be strangers. Write to me, ask questions, send me an email, and I'll be here to help you guys. When I started doing this, there was nobody to help me. Eventually one of the most famous stock photographers of today noticed me, and he was actually helping me to get accepted to Shutterstock. So I have to thank Lauren Rinder for that. And because of that, I want to help you guys to make your life easier, not to go through all the steps that I had to go to achieve what I'm doing now easily. And that will be it. See you soon. follow me on social networks, and we'll be in touch. Bye.